let's see. So Blue's going to lead the discussion on this one, and we're going to do the AL Central. So let's talk about that for the next couple minutes.
Yes.
Yeah. There's not going to be a ton to talk about, but we're just gonna get started. So Cleveland, who I would probably have as the winner of this division, just because their rotation's the best, and every other team in this division really is kind of struggling everywhere.
Outside the Twins,
I'll mention. So they got Kevin Plawecki to catch. They have Kipnis after he's off the DL or IL now. Jose Ramirez, Francisco Lindor, Leonis Martin, and Tyler Naquin set in spots. They also have Jake Bauers and Carlos Santana, potentially with Bauers playing left field and having Hanley Ramirez as their DH.
Why did they get rid of Edwin Encarnacion again?
Because they got Carlos Santana.
Yeah.
But they're.
I think.
I mean, but also they got rid of Yonder Alonso, and then they also got rid of Encarnacion.
That is true, but listen, whenever you can get Hanley Ramirez for dirt cheap, you just got to do it,
I guess.
Yeah, especially when Boston is still paying a salary.
Not really.
Watch for him to hit 5 homers in 3 months.
Hanley's older than my dad. Are you kidding me?
He doesn't even have the dreadlocks anymore. You can't recognize him.
Yeah. Maybe he needs to grow out his dreadlock.
Yeah,
because Kutch kind of lost his mojo after he cut the dreadlocks. Anyway, this team has Cargo on their AAA team. When legitimately he could be a starting right fielder for the Indians. Like, that whole roster's great, but that outfield freaking sucks.
Oh, it's so bad.
I think bringing in Jake Bauers could potentially, possibly, maybe help because he's actually a decent defender in left field. Mm-hmm. He has to bounce back to pre-August form because in August, just the month of August in general, he was the worst hitter in all of baseball, including pitchers.
Hot.
Yeah, 2 for 54 stretch. 2 for 54.
God,
that's what he gets for popping off so hard at literally hitting a home run off Jason Shreve that one time. He acted as if it was like a career-defining moment.
It was a career-defining moment. It was his first career walk-off home run.
He hit a walk-off grand slam off the friggin'... against the Nationals, down by 3 with 2 strikes. It was
the first walk-off home run of his career.
10th inning with a runner in scoring position already.
I mean, are you sure we're not talking about Chris Davis?
We're not talking about Chris Davis. We're talking about Jake Bauers.
He has actual promise.
I highly doubt this.
I am not sold on him at all.
I wasn't either, but when he was traded, it made me feel sad. He had a 700 OPS. He hit 201 despite the fact he had a 2 for 54 stretch. If he can actually be the hitter he was in every other month, then they have a decent player there in left field.
Yeah.
But I do think the Indians still have... I mean, you can argue that they have one of the better rotations in baseball. Kluber, Carrasco, Bauer, Clevenger, Shane Bieber is their 5 guy.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of... things could break right for them. Mm-hmm. The only issue that I kind of have is that their farm system, while it's still middling for me anyway, my main issue with it is that there's not a lot of help in AAA at this point besides like a Yu Chang Chen or Bobby Bradley. There's really not much there.
And Tristan McKenzie, their top prospect, I think is going to be out to start the season. So that doesn't help either.
No. But yeah, what do you guys think? I'm still saying first place just because even with a bullpen that's not great, Brad Hand is still a good reliever. They have Oliver Perez back, who is really good for them.
Yeah. I think they finished in first place by default, but there's room for the offense to be better. I think Jake Bauers is dead yet,
I think there's too much room on this. There's too much upside on this team to finish anywhere but first place. I get it. The AL Central was a giant joke. I get that, but at the same time, they're also a very good team. But outside the big three of Hand, Simber, who I pray to God comes back, and maybe Edwards, and Oliver Perez, of course, coming back. I really don't see them going. I see them trading like a Yu Chang and maybe someone else for outfield help come deadline time to help bolster the team. But I don't really see how, looking at it opening day, how this team goes anywhere except for the division series and then just gets their asses kicked by the Astros again, or maybe the Yankees. Like, I just don't see that happening, of them advancing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So before I go any further, just want to say Adam Simber appreciation post. Mm-hmm. Love that guy to death. He should bounce back. The Indians are going to win that division strength of rotation alone, frankly, because their pitching is so much better than the Twins that it's actually laughable. Because the Twins have Jose Barrios, Kyle Gibson, and then Mud. So it's just, we'll talk more about the Twins later, but that's what's going to determine the division. And they also have two of the top hitters in baseball, Lindor, who's hurt, but he'll come back, and Jose Ramirez.
I know we like to rag on the AL Central because it deserves it, but I really do think the Indians are a team that would be, outside of the AL East, would be content, and the AL West, in any other division, including the NL, they would still be a contending division leader. I'll pick them to finish first.
Okay. So let's go on to the Twins, who, if you're wondering, like, what's the name that I need to associate with the Twins? And so you're looking through and you're like, oh, Byron Buxton? Nah, overrated. Eddie Rosario? Nah. Jose Barrios? Hell no. But what about this guy? Never strikes out. Always hits dingers, except when he doesn't. Plays every position. Gold glove. Every position. Williams.
Studio.
A studio. Listen.
Is it former Orioles god Johnny Scope?
No. It is.
Oh.
Listen.
Ripperoni Buckaroni.
Listen. We're not even talking future MVP candidate. We're not talking future All-Star. We're talking future Hall of Famer. Williams Astudillo.
I hope he wins the Gold Glove at every position this year.
Dude, he'll win the Platinum Glove at every position. Who are we kidding,
dude?
The
American League is sponsored by
El
Tortuga.
Well, obviously they only give one Platinum Glove, so... Watch, he doesn't even win any of the Gold Gloves. They just give him the Platinum Glove. Like, it's not even fair to include you in the Gold Glove, man.
Exactly.
When the Twins signed Marwin Gonzalez, and they're like, oh, sweet, we have the second best utility player, they weren't even worried because they already had the first. They already had him.
It's true.
But on a more serious note, even though he is the best player in baseball.
How dare you speak ill of our Lord and Savior Joey Gallo?
Listen, I do love him too, gosh. The exact opposite of Williams Astudillo, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, the Twins have made some moves, getting Nelson Cruz to DH, adding Martin Perez to the rotation.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, they did add Blake Parker to a somewhat shaky bullpen, and there's some potential in the bullpen with Trevor May, who had a really good showing as the Twins closer late down the stretch. Taylor Rogers really good. I still don't think that there's enough yet, though I do think it's very... I think it's coming down the pipe very soon. But they really could use Buxton or Sano to be on the field. I mean, getting Marwin helps out in those areas for this year and next year. But for them to really have to make a splash, I feel like they need one of Sano or Buxton to really play, you know?
Come alive again.
Yeah. Oh, and they did get Kepler and Rosario some nice extensions as well. Polanco, rather. Kepler and Polanco, nice extension.
Yep, they did. What were the figures on those extensions again?
I believe it was 626 and 535, but I could be wrong about that. But those were ballpark numbers.
I think this team has a lot of upside. It just depends on if they play up to it. Former Ray and former Bunny heartthrob CJ Crone is going to be playing first base, and because of how big a hitter's park Target Field is, I could see his home run numbers being a little bit inflated. Honestly, it just depends on if this roster plays up, because the rotation played up last year and nothing else did. The bullpen played up, can play up. I think maybe they'll add to it and trade for like a Michael, someone like that, come deadline time. It just depends on if Miguel Sano and Byron Buxton show up, along with our Lord and Savior Nelly Boomstick. Jose Barrios and Kyle Gibson, I think will continue on. Maybe Gibson's numbers go down a little bit. But let's see. Michael Pineda, I don't really have a lot of hope for. He's either like really, really hot, or he's just a Baldo Jimenez, but bigger. Let's see. Jake Odorizzi, I think he's a good innings eater. And the 5 spot, with I believe Martin Perez. I'll be Marvin Perez, who I think has the chance to probably bounce back and be an innings eater. At worst, he's just a long man in the bullpen or starting depth at worst. But yeah, really with this team, it just depends on if they play up to their potential or not. They're a fringe wild card team. And if they don't do well, then they have pieces to sell off, and they already have a top 5 farm system. Oh my God, I said it. Thank you. But I think that's what I think about the Twins, honestly.
Yeah,
absolutely.
With the Twins, I like that they got the greatest Mariner Dominican designated hitter of all time for their team, Nelson Christie. He's very good despite declining each of his years in Seattle, which is still top 3 DH in the league. But
one of his best seasons was in Baltimore. Fight me, boy.
His best season was the year after he left Baltimore. So yeah.
Imagine being away from Buck Showalter for a year, what it does to people. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah, actually, it leads to them winning a World Series if you look at the Yankees.
Yeah.
And the Diamondbacks. But that won't happen with the Orioles because my life just sucks like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's keep talking about the Twins and not my pity party.
Yeah. I still, their offense, with the additions I said, it's very good. It's very in the AL Central, which is obvious. So their rotation is also very good in the AL Central. Their bullpen also very good in the AL Central. So it's very good in the AL Central. It's mediocre in the American League, which doesn't really bode a lot of hope for them. I know Sano isn't going to be ready for opening day, but even despite that, I don't think they'll really need him to mediocre. So I just think the default second place team, because they're not bad enough to be the other 3 teams in the AL Central. So yeah.
Yeah. Those frickin' Twins are so intriguing, and I want to put them in a wild card spot, but because they have so many interesting offensive talents, and if they all gel together, they could really be something special. But their pitching is it's not good enough. They've got Gibson, like I said, they've got Barrios, who's phenomenal. They've got Gibson, who's solid. And then they've got Jake Odorizzi, who's league average. And then it just all kind of falls off from there. And
you
they
didn't expect much from Michael Pineda at this point after coming over.
Pineda, let me tell you, as Pineda was a former Yankee, even when it seemed like he was doing well in 2017, he was still pitching at a 4 to 5 FIP. It was not spectacular performances. He just got good run support. So yeah, the Twins have enough offensive talent to make noise. And Astudillo and his elite low strikeout rates and odd low walk rates too. He just makes so much contact. He'll be fun to watch too, but it's just not quite enough. And I think the Rays just have him beat, especially in the pitching category.
I think obviously Astudillo will make them the first team to not make the playoffs to win the World Series.
Yep.
Astudillo is going to put up 11 WAR, calling it.
This is the innovation that the league needs.
Yes,
exactly.
I'm gonna say that I think maybe some people may be too high on CJ Cron. He's a good first baseman, but he's an average first baseman. He chases pitches outside the zone. If you can't coach him into being patient, because when he can be patient, selective patience, he's actually a pretty solid first baseman. But when he's not, he just chases everything and he falls apart. So that's why we moved on from him, and along with Jake Odorizzi.
You guys were definitely better when you moved on from Logan Morris. So
yeah. So from that, I will say I like the Twins to finish second, possibly, but
yeah,
I think that's almost a second A at this point, because one, this isn't a second place in a real division. This is second place in a AL Central division. So what teams that would finish fourth or third in other divisions would probably finish second here, but I don't know. Maybe they'll win 75 games or so. They did last year.
That's probably a decent number for them. And F in the chat for Joe Mauer.
Press F to pay respects to one of the great Twins.
Hometown
Marvelous
kid.
career, but then we had to ruin it. I'm sorry.
No, you're not. Shut up.
I'm absolutely fucking not sorry.
I mean, Ernie Bates never even played in a playoff game. So Joe Mauer losing to the Yankees all the time can't be the worst story in sports.
It still sucks.
Now here's what's going to be it's going to be interesting is who do we all think is going to finish third to fifth?
So I personally have the Chicago White Sox finishing third. And let me tell you, it was a hard decision. It was made much easier when a couple days ago Michael Fulmer apparently has a UCL tear, so he's probably out for the entire year.
Ouch.
Which I think has sealed Chicago probably finishing third. Now third baseman Yoan Moncada. Let's see how he does after another rough year. Not a horrible year, but you need to start seeing some more contact out of him. Seeing the largest extension ever without playing an MLB game in Eloy Jimenez as probably the opening day left fielder for the Chicago White Sox.
6 years, $43 million.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Still have Jose Abreu, who I believe was still pretty all right offensively last year. I don't think he's really dropped off yet.
No. He's just
kind of average.
Yeah, and then really just kind of average kind of players across the board. I mean, Tim Anderson I believe Tim Anderson actually had a 2020 year, maybe, or something similar.
Yeah, something like that. He was sneakily good on offense.
20 home runs, 26 stolen bases. You are correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But a 687 OPS.
Yeah, I believe that's because I don't think he walks at all. Pretty sure.
Probably not.
He doesn't.
30 walks all year.
Yeah, okay. That would make sense. And then a pitching staff led by Ivan Nova and Irvin Santana. Which, that's not... Well, I mean... But they really kind of need to see improvement from Lopez, Giolito, and Rodon.
Rodon has showed flashes. Giolito has just been flatlining.
Well, I think Lopez has actually been serviceable, but yeah, I mean, regardless, they're definitely not the same 3 top 100 prospects they were when they were acquired by the White Sox.
Yeah.
Bullpen additions, Alex Colomé, who was traded in a 1-for-1 deal with Omar Narvaez to Seattle. And then they also signed Kelvin Herrera to a 2-year deal. And that's pretty much all they've added, but it still looks better because they
got Yonder Alonso.
They did add Yonder Alonso as well, and they added John Jay in free agency, which I don't know about that. And they also added, they didn't add him, but Adam Engel is still the projected center fielder. So we'll have to see if the third year's the charm to really see if he's figured out hitting. Because if he even hits league average, the way he plays defense in center field is something special.
Oh, he's great.
Yep.
Can't hit it all, but that's one anyway. I'm just seeing a third place finish here, just because Detroit's slightly worse and Kansas City's a good step behind.
Kansas City, god awful.
Poor boys.
This is going to be the year I think few prospects come up. Eloy Jimenez being the biggest one out of all of them. And I could see a couple more graduating as well. But like looking around, I agree with Blue. I think Yohan Moncada can bring his strikeout rate down a little more and make a little more contact and not be a total meme this year. But yeah, there's not a whole lot to be ecstatic about because Wellington Castillo, his bat is more cooked than his nickname, which, by the way, his nickname is awesome because he is the Beef, and I think that is amazing. I used to just go, whenever he played for the Orioles, I was just going Beef the entire time, like a total moron. But I think they could trade Alex Colomé and maybe Kelvin Herrera come deadline time and maybe add to the farm system a little bit. But yeah, I think this is going to be maybe another one of those building years. We'll see a lot coming out of Eloy Jimenez's bat and not a whole lot else. So I have them finishing third place, and it's kind of like a participation trophy. Like, yeah, you tried this year. Whoop-de-doo.
Would have been a lot better if they got Bryce Harper or Manny Machado.
That would have been fun.
That would have, yep. You know what else would have been fun? A competitive team to challenge the Cubs, but whatever. In Chicago, not in their division.
Yeah, they have a bunch of those.
I thought the same.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that the White Sox have more upset than you think. The bullpen, like the back end of the bullpen, is complete trash, which is good. I like Ronaldo Lopez and Carlos for some reason. I don't know why, but I do. But and Eloy Jimenez is probably the best outfield prospect in all of baseball. Well, if you maybe Victor Robles is ahead of him, but in the corner outfield, he's definitely. I think he's going to be a noticeable difference to the offense. The problem is that they're not good enough to be better than the Twins, and they're not bad enough to be worse than the Royals. So yeah, they're stuck in the middle involuntarily. So yeah, I think they're finished third.
It's reaching the point in this rebuild where questions have to be answered, serious questions, because honestly, everybody thought it was high time for the White Sox to finally break out. It just really hasn't happened. A lot of their farm talent just has underperformed massively. And some of their farm talent that hasn't underperformed has gotten injured. Michael Kopech is going to miss the entire 2019 season. And that really sucks chunks for the White Sox. And I mean, they just gotta, they haven't been doing a good job of rebuilding, and they're going to go through another meaningless year. So unless Jimenez brings a spark to their offense that hasn't been there for years and years, they're just going to be treading water more, and it's kind of a bleak look. It's a pretty bleak future, all things considered. But yeah, I do have them finishing third.
Well, what are your thoughts, Bunny?
I see them finishing third. I think I agree with the fact that with Jeremy, I believe who said it, they have some surprising upside that might get them to finish second and win a whole 78 games this year. But they're just not. The Indians are a legitimate division winner, and there is no other team in this division that could say that they even have a shot at the wild card, except the Twins if everything goes right.
All right, sounds good. So we all say third?
Yeah.
All right, so fourth I have Detroit. Just because there's just not... Well, because we'll go... Okay, so they have Grayson Grenier as the starting catcher, Miggy at first base, and he actually hit well in his little resurgence in 2018, but then was out for the entire year with, I believe, a hamstring injury, I think. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it was.
Josh Harrison and Jordy Mercer are now middle. Here. Jaime Candelario, who actually liked in 2017 and 2018, he had some struggles, but he could end up being a nice big league regular for them. With currently Nick Castellanos, who they were unable to get a really good deal for this offseason, so he'll probably be moved to July trade bait. With Jacoby Jones in center field, Mikey Mottook in left, and Kristen Stewart as their everyday DH, more than likely.
Their everyday DH, I think, would be Miggy, and first base would be occupied by Nico Good.
They could do that. I don't have that personally, just because I feel like they want to use Goodrum at more places than first, but they could very.
They're using Goodrum as a utility infielder.
He is, and he's got the bat to be in the line.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be like for a veteran, like a Marlon Gonzalez type player who will be in the lineup a lot more than not, just because he can play left field as well. And then the rotation, as mentioned earlier, Michael Fulmer out for the entire year, now has Matt Boyd as the number one starter with Jordan Zimmerman, Matt Moore, I believe Tyson Ross, and now Daniel Norris as the 5 starters. And with the bullpen, whose main attraction would probably be Shane Green or Joe Jimenez.
Wow.
I'll start with Joe Jimenez.
Yeah,
there's just not a lot here. I mean, and it's especially difficult because Detroit really doesn't have an impact bat in their system at this point either. So
I mean, you could argue Daz Cameron, I believe will be up this year as well at some point.
Maybe, I don't know about that, but he definitely does have the clearest route in center fields. So what do you guys think about the Tigers?
I personally think that despite that their offense being, I guess, okay in some aspects, I think that the pitching is going to drop down like really, really far. I do not like the rotation at all, because Matthew Boyd, despite his him being the de facto number one starter, he was not good. He was not he wasn't good in 2018, but he wasn't necessarily bad either. He was okay, I guess. But the rest of the rotation, I don't like it. Like Jordan Zimmerman all the way down to Daniel Norris, it's I don't want that in a rotation. Then I'm not high on either Shangri or Joe Jimenez, because they didn't have good second halves, and can't really be expected for the rest of the bullpen to be anything worthwhile to see. So yeah, I just think they'll finish in last place in the AL Central.
There's not a whole lot to write home about here, besides praying that Miggy just puts up hope, but that Miggy just keeps trying to ascend to Cooperstown more and cement his legacy, I guess. Nick Castellanos will get traded, and there's not a whole lot here. Jordan Zimmerman will be a laugh and a half in the rotation, and I think Sean Green and Joe Jimenez can be bribed away depending on the offer. We're looking at the farm system right now. Isaac Paredes will be up at some point, potentially this year or next year. Put up really good numbers in high A and most likely start out at Double-A Erie this year. We could see him. Daz Cameron will most likely probably be up either this year, or maybe he'll stay in Triple-A all year and get seasoning. And Willie Castro, who's a shortstop prospect, could potentially, if he's good enough, could knock down the door and beat out Jordy Mercer. And the thing is with the Tigers is that the major league club is going to be irrelevant, and terrible, but they also have a very good farm system with which it's going to get a lot more top picks, so they can only add upside. So really, it's going to be bad. They're going to be bad, and but there's a future. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. So
absolutely.
I don't know. They could totally put pick busts with all those picks.
They could.
They could, yeah.
So I'm going to go total Detroit here and say that they finish 5th.
Damn.
Oof. I'm going to say 4th.
This team is boring as fuck. There's so many teams that, like, even if they're not going to be good this year, I'm going to have some reason to watch them. Like, you know, the Padres have Manny Machado now. The White Sox have Eloy Jimenez playing. The Blue Jays are going to have guys like Vlad Jr. coming up. Hell, even, you know, Kansas City is still going to have guys like Whit Merrifield. And, hey, if Ryan O'Hearn can continue hitting the way he is, the Tigers don't have anybody like that. And I know Nicholas Castellanos, I don't really care. I mean, he hits decently, but the only time I'm ever going to watch this team this year is when the Yankees are beating their asses.
Mm-hmm.
Clapping
There's
their
nothing
ass
more left
cheeks.
to say. 4th place.
Those are solid reasons. And then lastly, we have maybe the only true rival for the Orioles to get that sweet number 1 draft pick next year. The Kansas City Royals, which is, I mean, if you just want to look at the pitching, Jake Junis, who is awful, Brad Keller, who is pretty good, and it's looking like it may very well be that way again this year.
Rule 5 draft pick turned opening day starter.
Yeah. Ian Kennedy, who they gave a lot of money to, is now in the bullpen for his final year there. Brad Boxberger, who was not very good, who had a bad second half in Arizona.
And who tanked my freaking fantasy team, too.
I believe Willie Peralta walked like 5 or 6 people per 9 innings last year as Kansas City's closer.
Yeah.
There's nothing there pitching.
6 people per 9 innings.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And he was the closer. And he's probably going to be their closer again this year.
He had an almost 1.5 whip, and he's their closer. That's sad.
3.67 ERA, baby. Not like ERA.
Yeah,
Pitcher reliever ERA matters, but yeah, look at it, man. All that matters.
Hey, he would be an all-star. That ERA. There's somebody that's like, we need this guy.
Buck Showalter is like, when I finally get a team again, this will be my closer.
Yeah, I will say, they did.
Fuck you, nerds.
Potential smart getting Billy Hamilton to play center field for them just because of how damn big that ballpark is. We could see him do a straight up inside the park home run, like with no mistakes by the defenders, just because of how damn big that ballpark is.
Yeah.
And I will say,
it's a match made in heaven.
I know he doesn't go by this anymore, but I can't remember what he goes by now. But Raul Mondesi Jr.
Adalberto.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, I think Mondesi had a terrific rookie campaign. He looks like he could be a very big bright spot for the 2019 Kansas City Royals and onward. Whit Merrifield, also a great year last year, got a nil extension that didn't make a ton of sense because he didn't get more years of control, but whatever. Ryan O'Hearn, who hit very well after spending part of the year in AAA. But other than that, there's really not a ton there. I mean, Brandon Phillips could show quite a bit of something. Jorge Soler actually hit pretty well last year before being out for the rest of the year. But there really is just not a ton here outside of the middle infield.
Yep.
Yeah.
Looking up, there are three things that make me happy about the Royals team. Number one is Alex Gordon's contract, just because of how laughably stupid it is. I mean, it could be worse. It could be Chris Davis or Jordan Zimmerman's, but that's a moot point. The fact that, let's see, actually 4 things really. Whit Merrifield's always good and wholesome. Soler, let's see. Soler might actually be the first 2-way player in this squad because he's slotted according to MLB depth chart as the right fielder and the DH. So really, he'll be coming up. his batting numbers will be insane because he's coming up twice as much as everyone else because he's just trying to carry this team to a fourth place finish. Oh, and by the way, Billy Hamilton's so fast and now he's in blue. Can we officially dub him as MLB Sonic the Hedgehog, please?
Yeah.
Nick.
Gotta go fast.
Listen, he will hit one home run this year, and it's gonna be an inside the Parker.
And someone on Twitter is either gonna put it to the music as from Chemical Plant Zone or Green Hill Zone, and that will just make my day.
The problem will have like a 79 exit velocity.
Yeah. The Billy Hamilton is the perfect encapsulation of the quote. The problem with going faster than light is that you can only run in darkness.
Yeah. He's gonna be running a second and third and just thinking in the back of his head, cruising around at speed of sound.
Yeah.
Places to go.
He's got places to go with that sweet 280 OBP.
Oh, dude, it's terrible. A base stealer who can't get on base. It's so sad.
But Brad Boxberger, just maybe he'll be good. Ian Kennedy in the bullpen. Oh my God! Remember when Ian Kennedy was good? I freaking do.
Yeah, me too, man.
And
he was pretty darn good with the Yanks.
And Dan Duffy will probably be traded out at some point. But yeah, this team sucks, and Salvador Perez is hurt, so 5th place.
Yep.
I feel like the Royals have really good upside. I like Mondesi, Merrifield. The offense is probably better than both the White Sox and the Tigers combined on a good day. You know, I also like their starting rotation than White Sox or the Tigers because Brad Keller, despite him having run out, not really striking out, had good peripherals. Jacob Junis was basically Matt Boyd in the number 2 position, which is nice. I don't like Homer Bailey being in the rotation at all. Hey, do what you got to do. The bullpen, I can't really say about half of these people. Like, who is Sam McWilliams? I can't really say much. But yeah, about Billy Hamilton, I'll say this: we'll get an inside run on a ground ball. No.
Well, I would say that maybe being in the biggest ballpark in baseball might get his ERA all the way down to 5.
Optimistic.
Mm-hmm. But to explain my 4th place pick, PECOTA has these guys finishing 3rd place, so you can't call me that crazy.
My God.
I don't know if I like PECOTA, man.
They have him winning 73 games.
PECOTA is stupid.
Mm-hmm.
73 games as 3rd place, according to PECOTA.
Like, if they finished 4th place, I could see that. It wouldn't take too much, maybe, for like Detroit to really slip back or something. But there's no way Kansas City finishes 3rd.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. I think they finish 4th. I think Ryan O'Hearn proves to everyone that he's... I can't even make a joke out of that, but I do think he'll probably be for real as a first baseman. And their second base is got Whit Merrifield, and their shortstop has Mondesi. And at third base, they have a giant gaping black hole. But hey, at one point, they had Mike Moustakas. And I think those fires will keep them warm at night to a 4th place finish.
And the tears will keep the rivers nice and hydrated.
Yes. But there's salt in that water, so, don't use it on any plants.
True.
Yep.
Last year, it was July, so in the middle of the baseball season, I sat down and, out of boredom, decided to watch a game. I was at a camp, a choir camp, and I decided to sit down and watch a game with one guy who was from the Kansas City area. It was the Red Sox and the Royals on Fox. Not sure why this was on national television. Well, the Royals actually kept it close for a solid couple of innings, but then the Red Sox bats broke out, and before you could even ask what time it was an 18-4 Red Sox lead. And so, I don't really lay into him because I'm suffering too, because I'm just watching the Red Sox win. So I just kind of ask, how do you deal with all this? One day you're on top of the world, and the other day you're just kind of at the basement again. And he says, I just, you kind of come to live with it because as a Royals fan, I mean, we had a playoff drought for over a decade, so it's just and he said, no offense to you guys, but small market baseball fans are the toughest motherfuckers on the planet. And I just remembered that one.
I'll be fair here, Jeremy. I mean, you guys did win a Super Bowl, and now you're one of the worst teams in the NFL, so.
It's true, but with the Royals, it's just Royals fans have gone through so much. They finally make it to the top, and their window lasts as long as that does. Now they're going to be
2 years
garbage for so long again.
2 playoff seasons.
Such little payoff.
I'm not that upset. I'm not that upset because they completely ruined the Orioles' 2014 season, and my only hope actually seeing a World Series in Baltimore. So my sympathies aren't there, mainly because I'm still bitter about that.
All right, that is the NL Central, and that's where I come in. So let's just get right into it. I picked the St. Louis Cardinals to finish first in the NL Central in 2019. To go through their lineup, at catcher they've got the old stalwart Yadier Molina with Francisco Pena backing up. First base, they've got probably the best offensive first baseman in the league in Paul Goldschmidt, along with Jose Martinez, who can play backup there. Second base, they've got Colton Wong, the walk-off home runs champion. Jed Jerko can also play utility there. Shortstop is Paul DeYoung. Third baseman, Matt Carpenter, who can also play first, of course. In left field, we've got Marcell Ozuna sporting a very weird beard this year. Harrison Bader out there in center field. And Dexter Fowler hoping to rebound out in right. Their rotation consists of the newly re-extended Miles Michaelis, who has a 4-year, $68 million extension kicking in soon. Carlos Martinez, who unfortunately is on the injured list again and will miss the beginning of the year. Jack Flaherty, the rookie revelation. Michael Wacha is there as well. Adam Wainwright sticking around. Alex Reyes, who's another often injured young pitcher, but can probably make some noise this year. Their bullpen consists of the fireballer Jordan Hicks, who should be really, really good this year. Andrew Miller, the old veteran hand. Then you've also got John Brebbia, Brett Cecil, Dominic Leone, Austin Gomber. A couple of other names there. Not a particularly outstanding bullpen, but certainly enough upside there on the back end of it to be a big force, along with a very nice rotation. I gotta say, this team has a lot of good depth, a lot of underappreciated offensive firepower, and I just think they have enough to just kind of have an edge over the rest of the division in terms of, through 162 games, who's going to have the guys that step up, have the clutch moments, division winners, And, the Cardinals are just always there. They're always lingering. They always have a chance. And I think this year they've made enough moves, quietly enough, to where they can have placed themselves back at the top of the division.
I think the Cardinals are a very interesting squad, especially the bloodbath that will be the NL Central. But the thing is that the middle infield is going to be great offensively and defensively, and they only added to it with trading a good sum to Paul Goldschmidt. It's really, do you believe that the outfield? It's really, do you believe that Marcell back? And if that depression beard means anything, maybe he'll be like Kratos in the new God of War game, where the beard just makes him, where the beard just adds to him. Let's see. Bader in center field, I think, is okay. Harrison Bader. He's going to be league average bat wise. Nothing really special there, but there's potential room to improve. Defensively, not that bad. Right field, Dexter Fowler. He's just, oh god, I don't see him bouncing back at all, honestly. No. But maybe that's just me. Bullpen wise, Jordan Hicks looks scary good. Oh my god! Watching him throw that sinker, it's like Zach Britton's sinker but at almost 100 miles. It's just not fair, okay? And their rotation looks really good, and they have a ton of depth in AAA and AA as well. So I don't see them finishing first, but I see them making it very interesting.
Yeah. I think the Cardinals have actually a pretty good offense. Yeah, especially in that NL Central offense, like the Cubs, the Brewers, and the Reds. It's actually it can go. It can go, and especially when you got all trying to finish first in the division, you really need a good offense. The rotation is fine, I guess. Miles Michael is good. So is Jack Flaherty. Adam Wainwright, I'm not too sure on if he'll be a supplemental number 3 guy, but I think he'll do all right. The bullpen is good. Not really the class of the NFL, but it's still good, you know. But the depth is like good in like the pitching category because they got like Ponce de Leon, Austin, as Jeremy mentioned, Carlos Martinez injured, and Alex Reyes ready to take over if needs be. So yeah, I don't think they'll finish third, but I still think they'll finish a hardy division.
I personally would probably have them finishing second. I do like them quite a bit, and I do think it's just going to be a very close division. My only issues are Molina. I don't know how consistent. I mean, he's 35, I believe now, so it's harder and harder to kind of imagine where he'll be. Colton Wong on offense is not a strong player, in my opinion. I think the bullpen, even adding Andrew Miller, especially because Andrew Miller really was not himself last year.
And he get hurt a lot these days.
That's true. I mean, for the last couple of years, he's been very consistently kind of in and off the IL. And my last little concern is I don't really know what Marcell Ozuna is at this point, because even with the shoulder injury, his last year was a lot more in line with the player he's always kind of been, rather than the breakout we saw in 2017 with the Marlins. And Dexter Fowler, I don't know if he's got much left in the tank. But that's just me. I still have them finishing second. I think they're still a really good ball club, but I have my amount of concerns with them.
Well, another question is that do you believe Mike Schlitt can be a good manager? Because they collapsed under him in September. Granted, that was still Mike Matheny's team, but we'll see going forward if Schlitt can be a good manager.
He took them from 500 to, 18 games above?
Yeah,
so
like that.
I can't insult the September mini collapse after that midseason surge too much.
Also, let's not forget that the Brewers were destroying everything in sight during that hot streak, and they were doing a lot of interdivision play during that time. So they were facing off against the Cubs and the St. Louis Cardinals a lot. So they were kind of, stomping over them. So in a way, the Brewers' rise was all the others' fall in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I will say that the addition of Paul Goldschmidt really does make you think that this team should be the number one team, and I don't necessarily think they have any particular any particular position group really is particularly flawed. I think they could be stronger in the center field. Matt Carpenter at third base defensively is concerning, even though he's been there a little bit before. Yadier Molina has not been himself defensively the past couple of years, even though he keeps winning Gold Gloves.
He's winning them by default.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go with consensus here and pick them second, because I think the Brewers are still too young and too good to say they won't win the division again, but I think it's very realistic they do win it, and they are my first wild card team.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if our love is tragedy, then why are you my Flaherty?
I know.
Boo!
That was bad, all right. All right, so my phone died, so if I sound a little bit different from now on, there's a reason why. But
okay.
Moving on, I'm going to actually, in light of recent happenings, in terms of injuries, mostly related to injuries, I'm actually going to go ahead and put the Chicago Cubs finishing second in the NL Central. To go over their lineup, they've got Wilson Contreras behind the plate, Anthony Rizzo at first base, Zobrist with Daniel Descalso backing up at second base. Shortstop, there's Javi Baez. Chris Bryant is bound for a rebound at third base, could be an MVP candidate. Left field, you've got Kyle Schwarber, who's slotted in there right now, Albert Almora Jr. in center field, and Jason Hayward rounds it out in right field. The rotation currently is listed as John Lester, Cole Hamels, Yu Darvish, Kyle Hendricks, and Jose Quintana. That's a very mercurial rotation. When they're on, they're on. When they are not, it is very tough. In their bullpen, they have guys like Brandon Morrow, though I think he's injured right now. They still have Pedro Strop, Steve Cishek, Carl Edwards Jr., Brendan Kinsler, and Dunsing. Tyler Chatwood is there now because he just could not make it as a strikeout with how many people. He will be a story for sure. But I think it's more to do with the injuries that Milwaukee has sustained recently and less to do with the Cubs' actual talent that I'm placing them above Milwaukee here. I think they definitely have a lot. The Cubs do have plenty of talent here. Contreras could be better this year. Baez might not be as good this year, but Chris Bryant should be good enough to make up for both of them, I feel. Chris Bryant is gonna rebound because he had a down year, and people didn't quite realize the impact that he has on that Cubs team when he's healthy. So that's kind of how I'm feeling with the Cubs this year. I think they'll finish second mainly because the Brewers have been knocked down pretty hard by injuries already. If they can stay healthy, of course they have pretty good depth with Zobrist, who's able to play anywhere. You've got David Bodie and Daniel Descalso, who can play in the infield. So they've got a lot of options, and they're a little bit better than people remember them being.
Let's see. Looking at the Cubs roster, I think there's a lot of talent here. I think they'll be a wild card team. However, I see them. I think they're going to finish in second. I think Milwaukee is just too good at the moment, and St. Louis just has some inconsistencies. But I think the Cubs are still a good wild card team, and could make it very interesting. The bullpen depth, I think, is okay. I'm not crazy about it. Former Oriole Pedro Strop, former Oriole Brian Dunsing will be really good. Strop is an eighth inning guy. I'm not really excited about, but at the same time, it's not that bad. Like, the bullpen's going to be okay.
Oh, and former Oriole Brad Brock, right?
That's right, former Oriole Brad Brock, who I think as a seventh or eighth inning guy, like he was used in ball, would be really good and help this team out a lot. That's a low risk, high upside move. I think Schwarber, if he can stay at league average defensively in center field, this team will be fine. The starting pitching really concerns me though, because John Lester's getting old. Cole Hamels regressed last year. Yu Darvish looked awful. Kyle Hendricks is pretty good. Jose Quintana hasn't always been hyped up to be on the other side of Chicago. And Mike Montgomery, not bad. He's an innings eater. The thing is that how's this team going to look in a couple years? Because Javi Baez and Chris Bryant are locked down for the time being. Same thing with Schwarber and Almora. But Anthony Rizzo is nearing free agency in 2 years. I believe Bryant's going to be there in 3. And Ben Zobrist is gone this year. So how is this team? What's this team's future going to look like is going to be my question, because their farm system really isn't that good. That's what I think is going to be the most interesting facet for the Cubs in the next couple of years. But honestly, I think they'll make the playoffs this year. Yeah.
Bakota has the Cubs finishing in last place with 79 wins.
But I fucking hate Bakota.
Fuck Bakota.
This is some dumb shit. Anything else you want to add to that?
I will say that I hate their starting pitching. I think John Lester is due to fall off. And I think they'll finish 3rd.
I actually 100% agree with you. I'm not crazy on their starting pitching or their bullpen, really, either. There's just too much injury concern for me, and there's depth, but it's not great in either spot. So I'm also saying 3rd.
All right.
And Ian Happ also option to AAA.
Oof.
Yeah. I think that they aren't necessarily a bad team. Like not as bad as anyone else is saying. I think they have still good offense. Chris Bryant, if he goes back to 2016 Chris Bryant, or even 2017 Chris Bryant, that's still a Chris Bryant I take. And Anthony Rizzo is still good. Javier Baez, runner up to the MVP. Kyle Schwarber, Wilson Contreras. You still have a very potent offense here that is still one of, if not the best in the NL Central.
I believe in their offense. I don't believe in their pitching. I don't think their offense will carry them past their pitching. I think with the Cardinals adding Goldschmidt, that might knock them down a peg too.
Yeah, and that's where I disagree, because I don't really see a rotation of Lester, Hendricks, Quintana, Hamels, or Darvish just being bad enough to not have him in first place, because Kyle Hendricks had a good second half. Will Hamels, good second half. I'm not sure that Hamels will have a good second half over a full season, but it's I don't expect him to be bad. And even still, he's Jose Quintana, John Lester, he's still completely serviceable pitchers.
All right.
And the bullpen, it's serviceable as well. Just cut Chatwood as soon as possible and add another good pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
It's still enough to compete in the NL Central. So yeah, I have him finishing first in the NL Central.
How about that?
Yeah.
This is a big controversial division for sure. Probably the most controversial.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right.
Because it's going to be a bloodbath, and it's going to be very interesting. Yeah, that's
absolutely.
why.
Bakota has them.
Storylines.
Bakota has them all within 10 games of each other. Yep. Every single team.
Yep.
All right. So moving on.
Parity.
All right. For the record, I love the Milwaukee Brewers. I love them to bits. I love their players. But
traitor.
They've already been destroyed by injury. Recently, it was announced that Corey Knebel may have to undergo Tommy John, and if that happens, we're probably not seeing him this season. He wants a third opinion, but the first 2 people he's consulted have already recommended Tommy John surgery. There's also Jeremy Jeffress, who has no timetable for return. So right now, you're looking at a bullpen that has Josh Hader, but then also Matt Albers, Alex Claudio, Javi Guerra. Not much else other than that. The rotation is also quite lackluster. You have Julius Chassin, who knows if he's going to be as good as he was last year. Freddie Peralta, who should be pretty good, a nice young starter. Brandon Woodruff. Corbin Burns, who had a nice breakout year. Can he keep that success up his starting spot. And then also Zach Davies. There's also Jimmy Nelson, but I'm not sure if he's ready yet. I think he pitched a spring training game, but I don't really know his status. Either way, he hasn't been fantastic even when he's healthy. Going to the offense is the far more concrete part of the Milwaukee Brewers lineup. Recently, they made a huge upgrade for not a lot of money. Yasmani Grandal, who bet big on himself and lost. He will catch for the Brewers for 1 year. Jesus Aguilar at first base. Can he keep up his offensive firepower from last year? Mike Moustakas and Travis Shaw switched places, and so now Moustakas is at second and Shaw's at third. Moustakas going to stay the course, or is he going to fall off? At shortstop, we have Orlando Arcia. Can he hit? Probably not. In the outfield, you've got their biggest stars, Christian Yelich and Lorenzo Cain, who should be fine. But is Ryan Braun going to be able to continue to produce, or is he going to start falling off? Can his glove continue to be serviceable out there in left field? There's suddenly a lot of questions surrounding the Brewers that maybe they felt like they had some easy answers to. Their injury report is starting to stem big impact guys like Knebel and Jefferson. They might not be able to survive that if those injuries are too much.
I think the Brewers are going to win the division, mainly because that outfield is great. And the thing is that I don't think Orlando Arcia is going to be the starting shortstop. I think that after the whole service time game is played yet again with another team, as I roll my eyes, I think Mauricio Dubon will be the shortstop in Milwaukee because he put up a 922 OPS and has a 55 arm and a 55 field currently, which defensively he's a little bit of a downgrade in comparison to Arcia, but in terms of like the overall package, I'd take Dubon over Arcia in a heartbeat. Let's see, Keaston Huria, I think could be brought up as well if one of Holt or Moustakas falters, or maybe another bat, and he plays first base potentially. Because I like Jesus Aguilar, but part of me doesn't buy into the whole mean tier power that he put up last year. But Aguilar's also put up an 840 OPS over his entire career, and has done really well in Milwaukee. So what do I know? I think the rotation is going to be hobbled along. I think Zach Davies makes a big bounce back because he was injured all last year. I think with Davies and if Burns can keep up, I think the rotation can at least get this team to the playoffs. Josh Hader, of course, fellow former Marylander, might I add, who will anchor the bullpen. Matt Albers, Eric Claudio, which I'm not ecstatic about. But at the same time, they're also apparently in talks with Craig Kimbrell, so that could lead to something. But now, as the roster stands, I think after Hader and Albers, the bullpen's really the weakest part of this. Team. But I do believe, however, with how good and how varied their farm system is, and how many infield prospects they have, I believe that they could be trading for bullpen arm at some point. But overall, I think the talent on display here is just too much, and probably will win out in the NL Central.
Mm-hmm. I think they have a lot of AA arms right now who are starters who they could call up at a pinch as relievers.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's only so much farm digging you can do, though.
Yes,
before you're underground.
But the flip side of that is the Cubs have no farm system, so.
Hey, they make a horn.
But another flip side of that coin is that the Cardinals have a good system.
True. But it's hard to pick against the Brewers. Like I said, I thought the Cardinals could potentially win the division as well. I'm just picking the Brewers to win it. And on to you, Hendo.
I think the Brewers, as it stands, have a good offense. You have Lorenzo Cain for 20th center field, Gold Glove winner, and that definitely not a bad batter by any means. He's actually quite good. You have the reigning MVP Christian Yelich, who is undoubtedly the key piece of the entire lineup, batting second. Then you have supplementary guys who would be very good lineup pieces in any other lineup, like Travis Shaw, Yasmani Grandal, and Jesus Aguilar. But we're like, all is like underwhelming is the pitching. The bullpen, I disagree, is quite better than the rotation because Josh Hader and Matt Albers and Alex Claudio. I'm going to say that Alex Claudio has had a decent career before 2018. He posted an ERA under 3 in 2017, but I think his 2018 was an outlier, and he'll go back to being, back to his career norm in 2019. But I doubt, that Chasen, Peralta, and Woodruff will contribute to anything more than a average rotation, which isn't necessarily a bad thing since the Brewers have proven. So yeah, I think that they'll finish second in the division, but not by much beyond first. Same as last year, I guess.
They won the division last year.
Well, they tied for first and they won the tiebreaker, but point stands.
Still technically won the division.
It was a regular season game. They won it, and thus they won the most regular season games.
Game 163, but the point stands, so it will be close. Them and the Cubs.
Mm-hmm. And possibly St. Louis as well.
No.
I love how sure you sound about that.
I personally think the Brewers are going to be in first, just because I like their depth and I like their current team as it is. Well, I may not prefer. No, I just like their overall team depth with Huria, Dubon, Corey Ray, Tyrone Taylor, Zach Brown, Jacob Nottingham. There's a lot of pretty decent guys who are in
AAA. We've forgotten completely about the drug test champion Eric Thames.
Oh, listen.
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking about Korean, the Masked Singer Dar?
Oh my God! Yes.
Yes.
Lovely.
The legend.
Mm-hmm. He still had a half decent 783 OPS for a first baseman last year, and 16 dongs in only less than 300 bats.
Maybe 2017 Eric Thames back for them.
He also owns the Reds, and so does Christian Yelich. So, Cincinnati.
Oh, actually, fun fact: Korean KBO 40-40 club member Eric Thames.
Oh wow, 40-40.
Yep, he is the only 40-40 person in the KBO.
And he stole 7 bases last year.
Wow,
he's a bronze god out there, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't see him.
Imagine Billy Hamilton in the KBO.
20 home runs. Wow.
20 home runs, 100 stolen bases.
GG, boys.
Yeah, I think you're selling him short. 200 stolen bases.
Oh man, we're good. This is to go even further beyond.
To infinity and beyond.
Yeah.
So.
All right, moving on. 4th place, Cincinnati Reds. So they improved. Yay. They will have a better product than they did last year, which is something that I don't think they have been able to say for 5 years. Currently running through their lineup, their catcher is Tucker Barnhart. Their first baseman is the unbelievably good at getting on base, Joey Votto. Second base has now been thrown into turmoil because Scooter Gennett is out long term, like 2 to 3 months.
Ooh.
So I guess they'll just have like Alex Blandino or somebody in there. Maybe even Nick Senzel playing second base. I don't know. I know Senzel's an outfielder, but I heard he's versatile. Shortstop, Jose Peraza is back. That's not particularly sparkling, but he's got a pretty good glove. Third base, bronzed god Eugenio Suarez. He's so good. Left field, they currently have Jesse Winker at left field on the depth chart. Matt Kemp is there as well. Philip Irvin, I guess. I think Kemp will probably get left field. We'll see.
He's such a wanker, though.
Yeah. Center field, we have Scott Schebler currently slotted in there. He can hit, sort of. And then right field, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Yasiel Puig. And that's going to be fun as hell. I can't wait to see that. So they definitely have some interesting offensive talent. Of course, the loss of Jeanette definitely hurts them. Another thing that they actually managed to work on is getting starting pitchers that aren't affront to the term starting pitchers. They got Sonny Gray from the Yankees. They got Alex Wood from the Dodgers. They still have Luis Castillo, who should break out. And they got Tanner Roark from the Washington Nationals. They also keep Anthony DeSclafani there. And you have not sparkling by any means, but major league caliber rotation. And that's kind of cool. And they'll have plenty of trade chips in there, probably wood, stuff like that, to expand their farm system. Maybe give a nitrous oxide boost to their rebuild. The bullpen, they have Raisel Iglesias closing. They have Amir Garrett. They've got Michael Lorenzen, my favorite reliever in baseball. Zach Duke, Tyler Mahle, Sal Romano, a bunch of guys that aren't particularly great. Raisel Iglesias is phenomenal. Like I said, Lorenzen is my favorite boy, basically because he can mash dongs. He's just overall good athlete. But yeah, there's not too much there. All things considered, the Reds have more offensive upside and can contend on pitching with the Pirates, so I put them ahead. But I don't know. That loss of Scooter Gennett might change things.
All right.
Mm-hmm. With the thing is with the Reds is that this team's either going to be absolutely amazing, or it's going to be one of the biggest letdowns in MLB history. I don't think there's any way to sugarcoat it.
I think they could be mediocre.
Yeah.
I don't know. This roster screams high upside, but at the same time, part of me wonders how we can sustain the success, because Yasiel Puig is going to be a free agent this year. Tanner Roark's gone, and so is Alex Wood. But they have a top 5 farm system that if anything, they could actually improve on, which I think is truly fascinating, even if they do suck. So it's a win-win either way. Currently, Nick Snezzel can play third base, second base, and the outfield at a corner spot. But looking at this roster, man, I want to believe they can make a playoff spot, but I also think that they're going to sell at the deadline. So, but really, I don't know what to make. I don't know what to make of this team. Really, they're gonna be good, and they're gonna be in it. It's just how long are they gonna be in it for? Is my question.
I'll give them till June.
Yeah, Yasiel Puig in at the Great American Ballpark just makes me salivate about how many home runs that dude can hit and absolutely destroy in that stupid little ballpark. Eugenio Suarez, I'm not completely crazy about, but even if he comes down a little bit from last year, he'll still be like a top 3 baseman in the NL. Mm-hmm. Sonny Gray looked better in spring training than he ever did with the Yankees.
Sad.
So really, I have this team third, but I have them as my second wild card spot this year.
Wow.
I really like the team. I'm really high on them, but part of me also thinks that they could just completely just be awful and then just trade everyone and everything just so that their farm system can be even more OP than potentially be like god tier like the Padres farm system is now.
I'm going to counteract MD's optimism with very, very low take here. I'm going to say they're going to finish last place. I don't believe in any of their pitching.
Ahead of the Pirates.
Yeah.
Go figure.
I'm going to have them last place below the Pirates. I think the only pitcher I think that they added who even had a decent year last year was Alex Wood, and even he had the benefit of probably the most pitcher-friendly park in baseball.
Well, Roark was solid. He just had no run support at all.
Mm-hmm.
In 2018, he had a ERA of 4.34. I realize that's not everything, but his FIP was 4.27, so it kind of was his ERA was reflective of his FIP.
He's solid.
I mean, at worst, he could be an innings eater, but he also did really well on the road, and he was okay at Dodger Stadium. So really, it's reversed almost in a way, and he did pretty well against AL Central opponents that he's going to be facing. So there's also that. Did I say AL Central?
Yeah.
Yes.
Shit, I'm sorry. Well, okay, NL Central, my bad.
I just see Alex Wood flirting with like a 3.8 ERA and everyone else in the mid-4s. Again. Which is better than what they've been doing. They're going to be the best they've been in years, and it's still going to be last place, I think.
All right.
I think losing Scooter Gennett is just a death blow.
All right. But I think that the Reds aren't really a team that's going to finish below 500. I think their offense is good. It's still definitely one of the most overlooked ones in past years, and it's definitely gotten its respect coming into 2019. You got Joey Votto, you got Yasiel Puig, you got Eugenio Suarez, you got all these guys ready to make impact. Then you got the rotation, which surprisingly isn't bad. You got Luis Castillo, who I think is going to establish himself next NL Central A's. You got Sonny Gray, who is, instead of pitching in the Yankee Stadium, it's now pitching in a stadium where it doesn't have to deal with the Yankees pitching coach. Then you got Tanner Roark, who is, not the best option, but definitely not the worst option either. And in the bullpen, you got Ross Iglesias, you got Zach Duke, you got Michael Lorenzen, you got guys who are ready to make an impact closing out innings. That guys are good upside. But that they do have a hole in center field, which I think will be filled by Nick Senzo when he accused enough time in the minors to add another year onto his service time and become a Super 2 candidate. So,
I don't think they're even going to play that game with him, honestly. I think they're going to play second base to cover for Scooter Gennett being out.
Well, I think that I think if they did, they'd already have him up in the bigs. I think they wouldn't have played him in center field, spring. Which, yeah. But anyway, even though I don't see him being, below 500, finishing the Cardinals, I see him finishing this Nano Central. Yeah.
Right.
You have him finishing third?
Fourth.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
My bad.
I have them finishing fifth. I like the Pirates pitching more, and I think Keller, who's in the Pirates system, is going to help out the Pirates rotation staff. And I don't think that there's a gap between the Pirates and Reds offenses, but I don't think it's enough for me to completely write off the Pirates pitching over the Reds pitching. So they're fifth for me.
Okay. And that's probably the last team we're going to talk about in the NL Central.
Yeah,
right?
We're going to talk about the Pirates.
Pirates. I know you forgot about them because they're such a sad team. They're such a sad existence. Yeah, 5th place because I like exactly 2 hitters on this team. I like exactly 2 starters on this team, and I like exactly 2 relievers on this team. 2 batters that I like are Starling Marte and Corey Dickerson. Can Dickerson do what he did last year, both on offense and defense? Not too sure. Can Starling Marte? He'll probably be okay. He'll always have that black mark on him from the PED suspension. The two starting pitchers that I like from them are Jamison Tyone and Trevor Williams. I'm not a fan of Chris Archer. I think he's just been steadily declining. Bill Musgrove is okay, but I just think he's going to be league average. Tyone's an ace, and Trevor Williams I think is a nice, consistent guy to have, and he's also a great Twitter personality. Bullpen. The only 2 guys that I really think are any good in the bullpen are Felipe Vasquez and Keone Kela. Even then, I don't think Kela was even all that amazing for him. Vasquez, of course, is phenomenal, and he even has a nice little branding thing where he refers to himself as Nightmare, and I love that shit.
Sweet.
Beyond Vasquez and Kela, there's just Kyle Crick, Ronnie Rodriguez, Steven Brault, Nick Hingham, Ovidas Neverauskas. Just Brendan Maurer's now on this team, apparently.
Steven Brault.
That's Brendan Maurer.
Steven Brault, who they acquired for Travis Snyder from the Orioles. So at least they're getting some positive value out of that.
I do like Brault as a guy, because he's apparently he sung the national anthem once, and he was really, really good. But anyway,
that's cool.
This team just bores me to sleep. We've got guys like, I don't know, Josh Bell, don't really buy into him. Eric Gonzalez, meh. Adam Frazier, meh. Jung-Ho Kang, why is he still around? Francisco Cervelli should be falling off with the bat any second now, and who knows if he stays healthy. Gregory Polanco is just kind of Gregory Polanco, probably. Again, he's going to be good this year.
Inconsistent at everything.
Yeah, and who knows if he stays healthy, because he had a huge derailing injury as well. They have some pretty okay depth, Newman and Moran and Chisenhall, but it's really not enough for me to see this team as anything other than a team in denial that is trying to assemble a competent squad, but it's just going to trip over its own feet while doing so.
Yeah.
And I don't think they will be able to realize the warning signs that they're in trouble long enough to get anything really good for their farm system. So it's just, I feel like they're just, I don't know, they're stranded at sea, I guess.
I have one thing before I launch in and make my critiques of the Pirates, is that number one, how come they don't do a Pirates of the Caribbean promotion every year, or some kind of pirate themed promotion?
They got to do the Lonely Island Jack Sparrow song.
Exactly. Why wouldn't they do that? And number 2, why have they not hired Johnny Depp to make as Captain Jack Sparrow? That's legitimately always me, that even at the height of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, they never went, hey, Johnny Depp, we'll pay you $2 million to make an appearance at the stadium as Captain Jack Sparrow. That boggles my mind, because it would sell a ton of tickets. Because
it's property of Disney, and the Anaheim Angels don't want to cede that turf, even though Disney doesn't own them.
Disney used to own them, bro. Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about crappy Disney movies, Angels in the Outfield's pretty bad. I'm sorry.
It was a remake of a movie about the Pirates, oddly enough.
Go figure. Let's see. There's a ton of upside here. Colin Moran really didn't do anything for me at third base, and it's going to be interesting to see who wins out between him and Jung Ho Kang. I believe that Eric Gonzalez is going to be the shortstop, because they're going to play the Super 2 game, probably with Kevin Newman and probably Kevin Kramer too. I'm not really high on Kevin Newman, but I think Kevin Kramer is legitimately the better prospect of the two to play shortstop. Adam Frazier, I'm not really all that excited about him, but at the same time, he could be very interesting. Josh Bell, not really wowing me. But the outfield though, can Corey Dickerson be as good as he was last year? Can Sterling Marte keep playing center field at a good rate? Can Gregor Polanco not be injured this year? Looking at the bullpen, there's a lot of depth here, but at the same time, I don't know if it's gonna outmatch, say, the Reds bullpen or the Cardinals bullpen. That's the issue. It's probably the third best bullpen in the division, which is saying a lot. But at the same time, the third best bullpen isn't going to win you the division. The starting rotation, Talley, I like. Chris Archer, why they made that move, I will never understand, because I've always thought Chris Archer was massively overrated, and he's proved it so far in Pittsburgh. Trevor Williams, I think, is really good. Same thing with Joe Musgrove and Jordy Lyles. Francisco Cervelli, he's in his last year of his extension. Part of me wants him to do really well, but I also think he might fall off a cliff. I think this team of the Reds might have a big sell-off of guys, and it wouldn't surprise me if Marte, Polanco, and Cervelli were gone at the end of the year, and maybe other few pieces. But overall, they're going to finish fifth. I don't think they make the playoffs, but they're going to make it interesting and make it very close. Really, this team and the Reds are going to be the deciding factors. They're the wild cards of this division, I think, just because you really can't predict what they're going to do, because that offense isn't going to be as brutal and limp as it was last year, because they got rid of Josh Harrison and Jordy Mercer, so they don't have those two bogging them down. So that's my piece. I could see this team finishing third and being a second wild spot, but I could also see them finishing fifth and finishing right around 500 at the same time.
I'm going to have them finishing fourth. I believe in their bullpen a little bit more than Jeremy does. I believe in their starting rotation a little bit more than Jeremy does. Even though I don't like Chris Archer, that time has passed. I actually wasn't a huge fan of him when he was on the Rays anyway, even though he's a great personality and a good guy. Jamison Tyone, real legit ace. Trevor Williams looks pretty good. I think Musgrove might take a step forward. I think that gives them 3 good pitchers. That's 2 more guys than I trust that are on the Reds. And I think their offense, I think Cervelli, I don't know if he's going to fall off a cliff. Elias Diaz, in limited time, was their backup catcher. He's sick. He's out with an illness, but he's expected to be back in April, which is no time at all. So that's a good backup catcher. If Cervelli all of a sudden just falls off a cliff offensively, they could pull the plug on him and trade him. I think they have decent prospects on their way. I know the Reds have a better farm system, but I think that guys that are here and were actually getting cups of coffee last year will be able to contribute a lot. And I think the gap between, like what Blue said before, the gap between their offense and the Reds' offense is not enough for me to think they will finish fifth. I think they will finish fourth.
Well, I think that the Pirates have probably the worst offense in the National League outside from the Giants and Marlins offenses. Because outside of guys like Corey Dickerson and probably Starling Marte, I don't see any of these guys in the lineup being an impact bat at all. Especially since they have. I like their minor league offense situation, especially Brian Hayes, because he brings both things. He brings both decent offense and very good defense as compared to Jungle Kung's
Hayes has such a weird and interesting profile, isn't he? Like 6'6".
I think that's O'Neal.
He's really tall for a shortstop.
O'Neal Cruz.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's O'Neal. Sorry, that's my bad.
It's fine. But yeah, compared to like, Shung Ho Kong's like one, tool offensive profile, I think a Brian Hayes could bring a spark to this team if he, absolutely demolishes AAA. But I don't see Neil Huntington doing that. But anyway, I like the rotation. I really do. I think it's easily the best in the NL Central. I'm saying a lot. You got Jameson Tyone, Joe Musgrove. We got Trevor Williams. They're all the consistent 1-3 guys. And in a division where you're expected to be competitive, that really says a lot about how far you're going to go. But Chris Archer and Jordan Lyles, I'm not fans of at all. Like I agree. I think Chris Archer is overrated, but like Jordan Lyles, was that the best they could do to sign a 5 guy? I mean,
oh, he's bad.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he could have easily done better than him.
I will say about Archer, even though I think he is overrated, and we're right to say that, Archer as the number 4 is not being in bad shape at all.
I suppose not.
Yeah. It's obviously not. It's obviously not bad, but even still, he's probably not the guy you want to have in rotation, expected to win the division when your offense is bad. You need like a better, more impact guy, and instead you have him and Jordan Lyles. So yeah, and the bullpen is fine enough. You got Felipe Vasquez, local guy Kalen Kela, and Richard Rodriguez. But then again, you have Francisco Liriano and Nick Kingham down there.
Did Liriano make the roster?
He did.
Yep.
Yeah, Huntington announced he and Melky Cabrera made the rosters. As,
hey, Melky!
Nice. List and 4th outfielder.
And I will also say, on the topic of outfield, that Gregory Polanco had an 840 pretty much OPS last year, so maybe that was the year he broke out.
And now he's doubtful for opening day.
True.
So yeah.
I don't think he'll make it.
Yeah, but he's expected to come back in early May.
He'll have Chisenhall in right field.
Yeah, but by then it's like I don't think the offense is going to be enough to supplement their good pitching, and I think they're going to finish last in the NL Central with a record at least in between 4 and 7 games below 500. So yeah, it's not a good look for them.
Yeah, my thoughts are basically, I like them at 4. I just like them a little bit better than the Reds. That's because I feel like your opinion on Pirates versus Reds depends on how much you buy the really. So I think what it comes down to. But yeah,
yeah. That division's going to be a total bloodbath, though, and then considering where all the teams are going, the fact that my lust for baseball blood will be sufficed makes me very happy.